Welcome to LCAP Legacy, Decades of Dedication, the podcast that celebrates the incredible individuals who have shaped the heart and soul of the Lawrence County Community Action Partnership.
Each episode, we'll dive deep into the stories of those who have devoted their careers to making a difference, not just in our organization, but in the lives of the people we serve every day.
We'll uncover their journeys, explore the moments that inspired them, and highlight the lasting impact of their commitment to LCAP's mission.
So whether you're here to learn, be inspired, or simply celebrate the amazing people who make LCAP what it is, thank you for joining us.
This is LCAP Legacy, Decades of Dedication.
Let's get started with today's guest.
You are now listening to LCAP Legacy, Decades of Dedication, and we are back with another episode. And this episode is episode 25. We keep getting up there in episodes. It's amazing to see every week how we have guests come on. And speaking of guests, this week we have Donetta Andrews, and she is the Transportation Administrative Assistant Coordinator, and she will be celebrating her 4th year here in December of this year. So thank you, Donetta, so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And of course, in the studio, I also have my wonderful co-host, Kim.
Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great day.
And Amber's on vacation, so she gets to enjoy this week's. But Kim and myself are going to hold it down for her, and we're going to continue on with the episode. So Donetta, take us back almost 4 years ago. What got you interested in LCAP?
So originally, before I came to LCAP, I was working at the bank, and that was during COVID times, big scary times, you know. And I was actually struggling with transportation for my kids to get back and forth from school because they shut everything down. And ACTS was there for me during that time. They were able to pick up my kids from daycare, take them to school, and bring them back to daycare. It allowed me to keep my job, still work. And then I saw that they had an opening for dispatcher. So I actually applied for the dispatch position. And I was brought in to interview and everything. And Vanessa asked me if I'd be interested in customer service. So lo and behold, here I am.
Wow, that's wonderful. See, it's nice like when you were, somewhere else, but then ACTS was a part of you when you were not employed with us here. So it's like special when you're in your heart a little bit because they were able to help you out when you needed it so that you could give that back to others and share like your journey, with ACTS prior to you starting with ACTS.
Yes, I was very thankful. I already had that positive image of them.
Yeah.
And since you have that firsthand experience of, needing transportation, and now that you actually work in transportation and you see the need firsthand every day, what is it like knowing that you are able to provide services for people in this community who may be in the same situation that you found yourself in 4 years ago?
It is very rewarding. And not only am I still in that same situation, but I still heavily rely on ACTS with my own kids to get to and from practices. They even volunteer here in the LCAP community themselves. They did some volunteering with the camps. And even my own grandma, she's from Michigan. She was in town visiting, but of course we all work. So we registered her under ACTS so she wasn't cooped up at home all by herself and she got to go out and see the community.
That is so nice. And meet the different drivers. Yes. And then just to be out in the community and, take part in everything that we have to offer and meet new people while she was visiting. That's really awesome. So Donetta, what does a typical work day look like for you? Tell us about your day as soon as you get into the building there at our ACTS Transportation Department.
Well, it was kind of funny because there is no typical day at ACTS. You never know what you're walking into. It's always changing. That's our big thing. It's always changing. We are growing so much, and you can plan what you're going to do for the day, and then someone sends you an email or a phone call, and you're on a whole new task.
And you did mention how, you use the services for your children. And many people in the community may not know how easy it is to actually use those services or how reliable and safe it is. So when it comes to scheduling your kids and knowing how, how accessible the ACTS transportation is, what would you say to parents who may be wanting to use that service but aren't necessarily sure how reliable it is?
I'd like to tell them that I am probably the most overprotective mom there is. I have cameras all around my house. I track my kids' phones. And I trust all of our drivers, hands down. we're able to register everyone right online or over the phone for the most part. And we're door to door, especially with the kids. The drivers never ever pull away until they know that that child is safely where they're supposed to be.
So that is nice that we're door to door because, like you said, you're dropped off where you're going, you're picked up at your home or wherever you're at, and then the drivers, they make sure everybody's in, safe, and then they take off. So that is important, especially in today's world too. So if somebody is interested in riding Axe or using Axe services, what do they need to do?
Well, I recommend they give customer service a call to get the most information. But if they're working and they're busy, they can find us on rideaxbus.org. And there we have all of our information and links that they can even go right to PennDOT and they can enroll right online.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
And oftentimes people see the vans and they don't realize the work behind the scenes. So what's something about your job most people wouldn't expect?
Well, it's not just as simple as you call and schedule the ride. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. And our dispatchers and our customer service, they work very hard about making sure that, they're grouping trips together and that there's enough seats on the bus for everyone. Everyone's accommodated and, we're arriving on time. We're always checking, traffic patterns. We're trying to find the least costly mode available to each passenger, while still doing all the monitoring of programs and compliance with, medical assistance and PennDOT's regulations. So there's a lot of behind the scenes that go on as well.
Mm-hmm. And unlike LCAP, Grant office, Mercer Street, Axe transportation office, you guys stay open on Saturdays as well. So you're also working, you have people working on Saturdays to make sure people have transportation. So, it is nice that you offer those wide range of hours and services for the people in the community because you never know when somebody might have a doctor's appointment or may just need to go somewhere and see a loved one. So that is nice that we offer, Monday through Saturday, correct?
Yes, we are open Monday through Saturday. However, Saturdays are kind of limited to be more local because we do only have that one driver that's able to go out. But we do have contracts and everything. You're always welcome if you need a little bit more to reach out and we'll see what we can do.
What time do you guys open in the morning at Axe Transportation?
Customer service opens at 8:30.
8:30, okay.
However,
Till 4:30?
8:30 to 4:30 for customer service. Dispatch is there 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. And our earliest driver is usually out on the road around 4:30 in the morning for those dialysis patients who really have those life-sustaining appointments they need to get to.
And I always talk about the Working Parents Program because that program is very important for that to be known into the community. So if a person is working and they have minor children in their household, and if they're working 30 days or longer, 20 hours or more a week, they could utilize that program. So they're able to get to work and from work if they qualify for that program in that year's time. And then the mileage reimbursement that we have to offer that with that too, I think that's important for people to know. So if somebody would qualify for that, Donetta, what would typical hours be? So their work hours, what would they have to work? Because we get a lot of questions about that in the community. Like a typical work day, maybe 8 to 5.
As long as they maintain that 20 hours per week, they would qualify throughout the program.
To work though, for their working time of work, if Axe working business hours. So would that be maybe if they would start at 5 a.m.?
For 5 a.m., it's a little more difficult because we do have those other medical appointments. Okay. However, once we start getting into the 6 and 7 o'clock hour, we may be able to help accommodate better. Or if they're doing mileage reimbursement, they can work overnight if they like.
Okay.
We also provide bus tickets as well if that's an option for them.
That's good to know because we do get a lot of calls for that. And it's such a great program and it helps so many working parents. So thank you for clarifying that for us.
You're welcome.
And what's one story that stuck with you, whether funny, moving, or inspiring from your time with Axe?
It would be how much of a family we all are. My first year here, I was only here a couple months, and my middle daughter, Karina, was struck by a car. So I had to call and, explain I wasn't coming to work. Not only were they completely understanding, but they show up at my house with food for us. So it really is like a family.
And what motivates you the most about your work and the job that you do?
The clients. I love hearing on the phone all the time about how much they appreciate what we do and how, without us, they would be stuck at home. They have no one to help them. And they're just so thankful that they have their independence and they don't have to rely on anyone.
Throughout your time here, has there been a time where you were reminded why your work really matters?
Every day. Every day I'm reminded about why it matters. There's always a client who calls in and, I thank you so much for everything.
We get a lot of the calls too. So I know firsthand that a lot of the riders, they're just so thankful. And if I'm helping somebody with SNAP, I'm always sure to talk about ACTS. And we do at the front counter too, because we want people to know, ACTS is there, but they're also there, to a companion too along the ride. So it's important.
Yes, our drivers develop a very strong connections with the passengers. And when they notice someone hasn't rode in a few days, they'll be calling upstairs going, hey, can you call on so-and-so? I haven't seen them. Is everything okay? They notice those little things and they really develop the connection with the passengers.
We had one of your drivers, Keisha, on a couple weeks back, and she said the same exact thing. And it's true. Jackie Cozen talks about that constantly. So we're happy to hear that again.
And then other than what you just mentioned, how else do you think ACTS is playing a role in strengthening the community between getting people from point A to B?
It's not as simple as getting them to point A to point B. We are getting them to medical appointments that they otherwise couldn't go to. We're getting them to job opportunities. We are getting kids to daycares and school, giving parents that much needed relief knowing that everything is taken care of. Which helps the community overall because it allows more people opportunities to be employed.
And I also want to add that it is nice that ACTS also continues to grow. So within the last year, we've added credit card payments, making that a little bit easier for users and making it user friendly. They can go on and make those payments, add money to their account. And then also in addition to that, we also have our Find a Ride app. So it's nice that we're continuing to grow within the organization. And then, in the future, we do have big plans for ACTS to potentially move it to the Fruit Mill campus and expand things. So what are you most looking forward to in the future when it comes to ACTS and the expansion that is coming?
I am most looking forward to seeing how many more people we can help serve and how many more people learn about us.
And if you could implement one new idea or program within the ACTS transportation, what would it be?
I don't know. I know we've grown so much already, but it's hard to see where else we can go at this time. With technology always changing, it'd be nice that if passengers can, kind of follow the buses themselves. I think that would be really nice and more reassuring for parents even.
So what's one of the biggest challenges you faced in your role, and how did you overcome that?
One of the biggest challenges I face is when you have to tell a client that you're not able to help accommodate them. And it's always heart-wrenching each time it happens, and it does happen, unfortunately, just because of rules and regulations. But I'm terrible about going above and beyond and trying to find that extra loophole that, here's what we can do.
One of the main themes here on this podcast is legacy. And, you are relatively new with the company, but I do like to ask everyone who sits in your seat, once you are done here at LCAP and done working with ACTS, what is the legacy that you're hoping to leave within the company?
The legacy I'm hoping to leave would be one of compassion and understanding and just accepting of everyone that, it doesn't matter what the background is. We've all been in a struggle and, we all need to overcome that and treat everyone respectfully.
Absolutely. And you guys at ACTS do work really hard to do that.
You all sure do.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up the personal questions so you can go ahead and relax a little bit. And we're going to make our way to the quick fire round. And how that works is we're going to ask you a series of questions, and you're just going to answer whatever comes to your mind first. So, Kim, do you want to go ahead and take it away?
I sure will. If you had an office mascot, what would it be? Who would it be, I should say, and why?
I think a dog because they're dependable and loyal.
That's beautiful. We all love our dogs.
Yes.
Yes.
If you could fix instantly one challenge in the transportation world, what would it be?
It would be allowing access to everyone regardless of program rules.
And if you could swap jobs with anybody for a day, who would it be? It could be somebody famous. It could be somebody you work with. It could be anybody.
Honestly, I'd have to say I don't think I'd want to swap. I love what I do.
Which coworker makes you laugh the most and why?
I would say that would have to be Mike Pandis downstairs, our safety manager, because no matter how stressful the day goes, he's always got something fun to say.
Yeah, we always hear good things about Mike.
And he's going to be coming in the studio too. So
Yes.
we're excited. And I'm sure it's going to be a good time here in our studio with Mike. So
Yes.
we're looking forward to having him. And your dream vacation, Donetta, where would you go and who would you bring?
I would definitely be taking my kids. But really anywhere I go with my kids is a dream vacation. We used to travel a lot more back in the day, but now, we travel a little less, but anytime we can get away, we do look forward to that. We're going camping later this month, so that's going to be our big adventure.
That
Good.
sounds fun.
Yeah, that's nice. Nothing like a good camping trip, s'more making. And speaking of your kids, your daughter just volunteered with us during the summer at our Frumill campus at our Innovation and Exploration Station. And I told you this, and I want to tell everybody what a good girl she is. Always helping. You never had to ask her for anything. So I want you to know that she helped those kids and did a lot for us over the summer. So you have a good girl in your hands.
She really enjoyed her time with LCAP. She couldn't get enough of it, and she made some great friends while she was there, and we're really thankful for that.
What is your favorite way to spend a Sunday?
Curled up on the couch with a nice good book.
What do you like to read?
I like mystery novels, but I also like a little rom-com.
Okay, nice. What's one tradition, big or small, that means a lot to you?
Our holiday traditions. For every holiday, I host the events. So all the families at my house, and it's a big ordeal because my kids just love the opportunity of getting to help bake and cook. And, it doesn't even matter if it's a big holiday with presents, but they love spending time with their cousins and their grandma and their aunts and their uncles.
Absolutely. And that's all that's going to matter when they grow up. They're going to remember those sweet memories.
Yes, of baking and decorating and, the nice conversation and being together. That's sweet.
So if you could sum up your time at Axe in one word, what would it be?
Change.
Because it's always changing. Huh?
It is always changing.
All right. And then before we wrap up this episode, is there anything else that you would like to touch on or get out there? If you guys could see, Donetta came with a list of things. She was very prepared for this episode. So she looked down when I asked her that. So I'm sure there's something else that she would like to, elaborate on.
Actually, I think we covered it all.
Oh, nice. Okay,
Good.
great. We did a good job then, Kim. Huh?
We did, yeah.
All righty. Well, Donetta, thank you so much for joining us here today in this podcast studio. Hopefully you had a good time with us because we had a good time with you.
We sure did.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. And of course, thank you guys for listening for another episode. And we will be back next week with another special guest. So tune in.
Have a great week, everyone. Enjoy.